I am having an absolute crisis of opportunity. I have 3 careers that I want. Each one of them shows a tremendous amount of promise, and I'm not willing to let go of any of them. So I need a system to manage my time or to be better at living my life so that I can make these things happen in parallel.
The first thing I'll say is that in my experience, most things don't end well when we try to do them in parallel. There's a famous saying that is, if you try to catch 2 rabbits, you don't catch any. So if you feel like you're being pulled in 2 directions, the first thing that's going to be difficult is the decision, right? Decision. I think it comes from a Latin word incision, which means to cut or to cut off. And decision is a word from that, which means like when we decide, we have to cut off a bunch of other stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I think the first thing you're actually going to need some help with is making a decision. And the way that I make decisions is the first thing I've got to be clear on is what's the outcome? You've got to get super clear on what do I actually want? Because how do we decide what path to take if we don't know what we want or like where we're going? And most people say things like, I want more money, or I want more time, or I want more opportunities. It's like, okay, great. Well, get up an extra hour before bed. Here's $10. And I'll introduce you to someone. Problem solved, right? So they're too generic, they're too vague. We need to be like really specific in terms of what we actually want, right? In the context of this area of our life, whether it's relationships, business, finance, whatever it is, like what is the specific thing that we want? So we want to get clear on like what is the outcome, and the outcome needs to be specific. When you're thinking about this area of your life, so let's say career, what is the specific outcome that you want?
What if I want many things?
Well, cool. Let's list them all out.
Yeah, I want my DJ career to kick back off where it left off before the pandemic. And there's a lot of opportunity to do that. I want to continue to grow my teaching community, my student community that I teach on Discord and online. And and do weekly streams and YouTube videos and grow that, because that is taking off right now as well. And I want to continue. I just sent off a proposal to a client. My first proposal sent for my virtual spaces company, which I, again, haven't even started marketing, and there's still leads just because of my positioning. Leads keep coming to me. So I really am finding it possible to say no to any of these things. Mm-hmm. I just, I want them all.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, well, lots of opportunity, and I can hear that there's lots of things going on. And Conor, I feel you, man. So let me tell you a little story. Like before I started coaching, about 5 or 6 years ago, I was DJ. We had a little record label that we used to run, but it didn't pay the bills. I was taking photos as a photographer, which I used to do as a bit at events because I was there anyway, building relationships with DJs. And I was also trying to run a digital marketing agency. And dude, I was burnt out. I had no money and I was stressed. But I was doing lots of cool creative shit, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Quality of life, like happiness is probably off the charts, right?
Yeah.
At that stage.
And the thing is, we don't need to have that. We don't need to just have like creative fulfillment or financial security. Like we can have both. I want to share something with you right now that helped me. And there's just a caveat to this. Like it's not going to help you choose what you need right now, but it is going to help you in the next 10 years of your life. So it's totally up to you. Like we can look at specifically what you want to choose, or we can zoom out and look at the bigger picture.
Let's go bigger picture.
Okay, cool. So look, all of this stuff you're saying, right? We're saying we want an outcome and we want something specific. Now, what I'm hearing is you want lots of things, right? So if I said to you, what would the DJing give you? Like, why is the DJing important to you?
Because I'm able to express myself creatively to a large amount of people.
Okay, so we've got creative expression, and the large amount of people bit is important as well, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, because it's scaling, and it feels even crazier the more it scales.
Yeah, and what feelings does that give you?
A feeling of being understood, a feeling of being, permitted to be myself.
So it's like there's feeling of like creative expression, this feeling of connection.
Yeah.
Cool. Remind me a couple of the other things that you said.
Teaching, same exact.
Okay, cool.
It's the same. I express myself, I teach them, I tell them what's going on, and then they connect. It's the same.
Okay. Is there anything else that you get from teaching that you don't get from DJing?
Well, right now I'm getting money, but I don't think that, I was getting money before the pandemic, DJing. So that's something that I could start getting money there again. And also, right now I work for a college by the hour. And so I'm building up my own private Discord so that I can start charging by the head instead. They both have opportunities for more money. But
okay, and what does money give you? What feeling is associated to that?
Well, obviously opportunity, but also I need it's a big feeling of relief because because I have been so broke before. I have been like, eating a bowl of rice a day broke, and that's just also I want to build up. I'm probably going to move next year to another country, and so I need some cash to be able to invest into that new living space.
Yeah.
And
so it sounds like there's an element of security and an element of freedom.
Absolutely, yes.
I'd be curious to know: is there anything else apart from the money? Is there anything else that the teaching gives you that the DJing doesn't?
It's a closer connection to the. Yeah, it's deeper, much deeper.
Yeah. What else? Are there any other words you would use to describe the connection? Like what does it actually give you? Like, why is teaching important?
I'm probably more extroverted. So I get a tremendous amount of energy from teaching these classes, especially the ones that go well. Like, I don't know, if I were you right now after this type of scenario where you're one-on-oneing a whole bunch of people, I would just be shaking with excitement as soon as the call was over, because the energy would just fly out. I mean, you're a DJ as well, and so I'm sure we kind of might be similar in the way we react.
Yeah, totally. Like, so you get that like buzz because you're in front of people. What's the difference between DJing and teaching, do you think?
Teaching is more useful to the people that receive it.
Okay, so when you're doing that, what does that feeling of useful now? Because it's useful. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel really wonderful because I get messages or art or whatever on a daily basis that reflect the appreciation that people are like, oh my God, you're the best teacher I've ever had. That makes me feel good when they say that.
Yeah, so it gives you a feeling of significance and you're having a bit of an impact, right?
Yeah, impact. Yeah.
Lastly, just tell me about the company. Like, what does the company give you?
The company gives me an opportunity for more money than I think. I mean, I just sent off a proposal for like 10,000 to start. And I want to basically increase that to 20 or 30 or 40, like on every new client, just scale that way up. So I can see
massive security, massive freedom.
Yeah. And then I could also hire people out. And then I can train people because I'm a teacher, know how to do that. I can train people, hire them. They can do a lot of the work and I can make way more money. Way more money than in order to make the same amount of money DJing, I'd have to be in the top 0.01% of DJs.
Yeah, totally, man. So I just want to know in the chat for everyone, I want to hear what everyone else is getting from this, right? What does Conor really want? Yeah. Jennifer, security, freedom, impact, significance, making a difference, stable income. Here's the crazy thing. What we all really want is we want a feeling. We want to feel a certain way. And if that thing doesn't give us that feeling, then we're like, I don't like doing it. If it does give us that feeling, we're like, we like doing it, right? Here's the crazy thing. There's a difference between vehicles, the things that we think are going to give us those feelings, and values, which are those feelings themselves. And the mistake that I was making was I was chasing the vehicle. And you can't chase multiple vehicles. What you need to do is you need to find one vehicle to give you all of your values.
Right.
You need to find a way to get your emotional needs met in one vehicle. And you know what? The cool thing, Conor, is it kind of doesn't matter what that vehicle is. Because when you can find a way to get them all met in the order you need them met, you don't miss the other stuff. That was my fear. I'm just going to focus on being a DJ. But then I'm going to miss the photography stuff, right? When I found coaching, there's a bigger process to this. There's something that takes like a longer period of time, like when we work through it with our clients, like over 6 to 9 months, where we actually help them figure out what that vehicle is, because it's already there. It's already in your story, right? But we don't have time to go into that. what I need you to know in this context is that ultimately what you want is the feeling. And if you focused on how do I get those things, how do I get those feelings in my day to day, everything else will come.
Mm-hmm.
The trap is when we chase the vehicle. Do I do this? Do I do that? And we can't. It never is.
What happens if I chase 3 vehicles at once?
You don't get either of them.
Okay.
Like the most successful I've ever been in my life is in this business because it's the only time I've ever had a singular focus. Most money I've ever earned, most amount of fun I've ever had, most amount of impact I've ever had, all of the things that I want, because I just focus and I said, this is what I'm committed to, because this is the thing that I think, and based on the exercise I did with my story and unpacking all of that stuff, this is the thing that allows me to get up every day and have those emotions. I know I'm making an impact. I know I'm having connection. I know I'm having significance because I'm on that journey with those people and I'm seeing the impact, like all of, and I focused on the values and I just asked myself, like, how do I get more of this today? And the easier we can make it, the more fulfilled we will be. So if you have to be the world's top DJ to feel significant, dude, you're going to spend a lot of time feeling insignificant. And probably when you get there, it will probably be like, oh, I feel pretty significant, but I'm not this guy. And so there's still that next layer. Whereas when you have a list, like a menu to choose from of all of the things that you can do that make you feel significant, I feel significant every time I fill in the blank. And you have a load of stuff to choose from, then you wake up every day feeling that thing. And guess what? The more of that we have, the more of it we attract.
Mm-hmm.
So if you start with the feeling and you really, really identify what it is that you want and what needs to happen in order for you to get that feeling, because it's just a permission thing. We have our own rules that say I only feel significant when X, Y, and Z happens. When I've got this much money in the bank, when I'm doing this kind of thing. But we get to create those rules. That's the beauty of it. So look, I could sit here and help you choose one of those things, but it's not going to serve you.
Yeah.
What's really going to serve you is getting really clear on those values, those emotional states, and asking yourself, like, realistically, out of all of these things, what's the one that's realistically going to allow me to achieve this? And if I've got a business or something that I think isn't giving me connection or freedom or significance, the question I would ask myself is, how do I create that in that vehicle?
Right.
What do I need to do to get that same thing? And honestly, dude, like, I don't miss DJing. And like, I could probably do it more, like, and do it in my spare time. Like, I've got a decent camera. I go out and, oh yeah, I should do more of that. But I don't miss that thing like I thought I did, because I find a way to get that emotional need met through everything I'm doing with this business.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So my only pushback, I'm not trying to be uncoachable here. Like I just, I feel like, because I've quit DJing a bunch of times because I said, okay, I can't do this right now. But like, I keep getting brought back in. And every time I get brought back in, I'm so much better than when I left. I'm so much better. And it's just, there's so much opportunity coming. That's the thing, is it's so hard for me to say no to opportunity. And I hear you, like your needs are being fulfilled by this one avenue. And that's what I thought my company would be, because it would be 3D art. It would be teaching, because I could hold classes in my space, and it would be DJing because I could put events on there and stuff. But it does not scratch the itch, because that's where I was trying to do what you were suggesting, but it doesn't scratch the itch that I just went to the park yesterday because BC is reopening and there was like 300 people there and they asked me to DJ, and I'm like, holy sh**, I really, really want to do that. And I really, really want to do the classes, and I really, really want the money that comes from my virtual spaces company. So it's like, it feels like I have my emotional needs are higher than maybe what would be possible for normal people. And maybe I can just be crazy and make it happen anyway.
You could do, dude. Look, I'm not here to tell you how you should live your life, right? I'm just here to share my experience with you and kind of share the experience of coaching other creatives. There's two things. Usually, number one is the thing that we crave the most is the thing that's the most efficient. So whatever that feeling is probably the one that you haven't had for the longest amount of time. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So just bear that in mind, because there's the law of familiarity. So if I said, right, every week you're going to go out and play that park in front of 300 people or 600 people, eventually that feeling would be less of a buzz for you.
100%. Yeah.
Right. So you've got to keep that in mind when you're like, oh, I feel like all my needs are the same. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, maybe it is DJing, but you've got to decide like what, and I'm going to be a bit crude here. People know who Mark Manson is? Mm-mm. He's like an American writer. He's great. I love his stuff. Okay. And one of his articles, he says like, what's your favorite, like you've got to decide what flavor sandwich you're going to eat. Because ultimately whatever
I didn't know that came from him.
Go ahead. Whatever path you take, there's going to be some hard stuff that isn't going to work and it's going to suck. It's just inevitable, right? Absolutely. But if you can still find a way to get those values met, even if it's like incremental, then it's still going to give you those feelings. And the more successful you get, and when you do break through those things, it's just going to be an amplification rather than I'm going to be deficient in that emotion until I reach this certain point. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference. So the difference is you saying, I'm only going to have this thing when I get to go and play a gig in front of 300 people versus actually I can have this feeling of significance anytime and stuff you can do on a daily basis. And it sounds subtle, but that will be the difference between like a fulfilling life and having one thing that you succeed at versus constantly chasing stuff. Does that make sense?
It does. It totally does.
And I know that's not helpful in this moment.
No, it isn't not helpful. It's helpful.
But as a principle, I could not let you go without understanding that, because no matter what we chose today, you would just fall back into that pattern in 5 years time or 10 years time or whatever. Mm-hmm.
This is what I heard. And I think I'm just like, I literally think I'm not mature enough to hear your words right. I'm just not like, there's a part of me that's just fighting it. And I know it's definitely, I'm positive it's right. But I think, as you said, the hit of doing a successful DJ set would definitely diminish unless it continued to grow. And so I thought, okay, well then I should, instead of doing them weekly, I should do them once a month, and then, or if I can do this thing once a month and I can do teaching 2 times a week and I can do virtual space building 4 times a week, then maybe I will be able to do all the things that I want to do. And have,
dude, it might work for you, right? I'm just, there's, if you want to check out, there's a book, I've got it somewhere. It's called Refuse to Choose. I know I recommend a whole bunch of people, but I read a lot of books. It's called Refuse to Choose. And I think it's by someone called Barbara Scheer. And she's very much of that belief that as creatives, we shouldn't choose and we should be able to do these things. Personally, and for a lot of people I work with, I haven't found it to work in a way that is like really financially sustainable. Like the numbers you're throwing around there, like 10K per client and stuff. Like if you're doing 3 or 4 different things, like you can't manage 10K clients if you've got like 3 or 4 different focuses. Like I know that from personal experience. Like if you're billing someone like 10, 15, 20 grand, you've got to show up and deliver some stuff.
Definitely, yeah.
Right? Definitely, even if it's like managing a team of people that are doing it, like that's a big focus. You see these people, whether they're influencers or celebrities or whatever, and they've got like 6 different companies and they're doing all this crazy stuff, but they didn't start out like that. And so the problem is people try to start out of the gates and they disperse their energy between 6 different things. But even if you look at someone like Will Smith, who I really admire, he's got a team of people and he just does some insane shit. He's still only good at like 2 or 3 things. And in fact, he's got a new book coming out, and Mark Manson, the guy I mentioned before, actually wrote it with him. And one of the reasons he got Mark in is because one of Will Smith's like fundamental beliefs is that you should be very good at a few things. And so you see all these people, but the thing is, once you get to a certain level where you've made something successful, it's so much easier to keep it there and build on it.
Totally. Yeah.
Right. So like, how old are you?
31 last week.
Okay. Right. So dude, like most people overestimate what they can achieve in a year and underestimate what they can achieve in a decade. You ever heard that saying?
Yeah.
I think that was Tony Robbins. Don't try and do everything at once. Try and focus on one thing that you think right now is going to be the thing that's like most enjoyable and it's going to get me all that stuff. Get that to a certain point, and that doesn't mean you can't ever do any of those other things. And I know it feels like right now all of these opportunities are coming at once, but
yeah,
but it's not, right? It's like, it's just in your head. Like there's plenty of opportunity out there, and and you go and create your own opportunity, but like you need to be focused. Like if you were 20, I would say go and do a bunch of stuff and find out what you like. When you're 30, you should, in my opinion, you should be getting to the point where you're a little bit more focused and you start kind of creating a bit of a path just based on science and average life expectancies, and how long it takes to build companies and stuff, right?
Makes sense.
But when you get a certain thing off the ground, then you're like, cool, I can put a team in place, I can put systems in place, this thing is like running alongside nicely. Now maybe I can go and focus, right? Okay.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to move on just because there's other people. Is that cool?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Do you know when that conversation happened? Like how long ago?
5 months ago, maybe 4 months ago.
So like what's changed since then?
A lot. I mean, Matt was right. I mean, then we have to just lay the groundwork right now and say that Matt was right. And I knew Matt was right when he was telling it to me, but it's very difficult. I found it very difficult to say no to so many things that could satisfy me in so many different ways, that could make me happy in so many different ways. And so I had a lot of different passions and I had a lot of different opportunities come my way. And to be frank, I had enough talent and skill acquired in each one of these things to be able to take whichever one I chose to the next level. But when I achieve a certain level of success, the demand in time and effort and skill to get to the next level of success is higher than where I was previously at. So to go from being a good DJ to a great DJ takes a certain investment of time. And I could be good at DJing, I could be good at virtual spaces, I could be good at teaching, but in order to be great at one of these things, it's going to take away from the other things. I can't be great at all of them. I have found, and maybe you'll agree with this, that if you try to do all things at once, life will force you into one of them. You will end up cornered against what is possible for you to achieve in a certain amount of time limit, and you will have to make a choice. And there's nothing else to it. And Matt warned me about this, right? Matt told me in advance that this was going to happen. And I wanted to experience that myself, because there's two ways you can learn something. You can either learn something from someone telling it to you, or you can learn something from experience, right? And I have opted for experience again and again and again, because my forehead is like 9 inches thick. It's just, I'm just a stubborn bastard. That's all there is to it. But now through that experience, I have learned that I've been, I have had to make a choice. And luckily, when presented with limitations or obstacles, there is an opportunity for creativity. And there's an opportunity to find a path that satisfies, like Matt was saying, not the vehicle to the happiness or the vehicles that you want to choose, but the thing that comes as a result of that vehicle. And I have put DJing aside, and that was a good move because COVID flared back up again anyway. And so it was an easy choice to make. And my virtual spaces company, I continued to develop for some time, but it was too early in the industry. The metaverse hasn't been a mainstream conversation until about this week with, the announcements from some major companies about, what they're planning to do with the metaverse. So I had been developing that for some time, but it was very difficult for me to generate revenue using that company. So then I dropped DJing. I started pushing aside virtual spaces and focused on teaching, building my own private courses, very much following Ben Burns's model. And that's been extremely helpful. But now, as I've been putting that on the side, virtual spaces is now exploding. And so it is a process of me combining the things that I love. I am taking the teaching model that Ben Burns is helping me with, and I'm taking my virtual spaces company, and I will teach virtual space companies and act as a consultant, as well as onboard students that want to become metaverse world building artists and teach them how to do that using my virtual space company, right? So one of them's put to the side. We'll wait for the summer. I'll be DJing again. You know what I mean? Next summer, maybe next year, whatever, right? And the other two have combined into one. So the way I've been basically thinking about it is businesses and ideas, they take time to grow, right? So you can have everything in place for you to be able to succeed and you still not succeed because it takes time, right? It's not like you can just plant a tomato seed into the soil and water it and give it sunlight and eat tomatoes tomorrow. You do everything right, but then at some point you have to let time take over. And so I'll do everything I can. I'll plant the seeds, I'll water the soil, I'll get everything ready, I'll put it in the sun. But then when it's taking its time to make an impact, I switch onto the other foot and I focus on teaching. So it's like a right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. And it's like virtual spaces, teaching, virtual spaces, teaching. And over time, these start to become one thing. It's like a bicycle now, right? And the two feet have combined into a single direction where I'm teaching virtual spaces. But it's not like you can just throw 100 hours a week at a project and just have it appear or become successful that much faster. Things take time, even despite how much work and effort you put into them. So when the natural lag comes up, I switch.
You said like back then that you weren't like strong enough to hear Matt's words at the time. Did anything change or like click in your mind since then? Like when you decided to pursue virtual spaces and teaching?
So I mean, if I'm being honest with you, I think every single day, at least once, I had a voice in the back of my mind saying, Matt was right. Every day I'd be like, Matt was right. Like every day I had this thought because I was running into the obstacles that he warned me about, running into the challenges. And so it became easier to drop the DJing because he was right. And he basically said, hey, your future looks like this. And I like I said, I knew that what he was saying was right, but I needed to learn it myself. I don't think, I'm a teacher as well, right? So when I teach students things, they can either listen to me or they can do their own thing and learn what they were going to learn, what I was going to teach them anyway, right? So I don't mind. I don't care how they learn. They can either listen to me or they can go face plant and learn it on themselves, right? But maybe also as well as a teacher, and I'm the old generation passing on knowledge and they're the new generation, maybe when I say something that their gut disagrees with, maybe they're right. Maybe they're the next revolution. Maybe they're the next innovation of the field, of the medium, and that they can prove me wrong. And if they can do that, that's freaking awesome. So I sought out, even though I knew Matt was right, I sought out to prove him wrong. And if he wasn't wrong, then I would prove him right. And I would learn the lesson that he was trying to teach me. It would come with a bit more sweat and tears, but I would learn it nonetheless. And so, yes, now, to answer your question, I think I said that I wasn't mature enough to take in what he was saying, right? And it's because I knew he was right, but there was part of me that was holding on to the adolescent ideal that maybe I'm different, that maybe I'm going to revolutionize something, maybe I'm going to innovate something and change the status quo and change the paradigm, or I'm wrong and I find out. But I'd rather find out on my own face than just take someone else tells me and settle. Because what if I'm right? What if I could be the world's best DJ and the world's best virtual space and some teacher that doesn't know anything about this stuff steered me away from greatness? Of course, I wasn't right. Of course, he was right. Of course, I can't be all those things at once, right? So, but I found out through experience. And like I said, when life corners you into the position where you have to make those decisions, the soundtrack in my mind was just Matt's smiling face telling me exactly like what he knew would happen. And it's because he experienced the same thing. He told me he was a DJ, a photographer, event organizer. Like, yeah, we're on a similar path. We're going to find out the same lessons.
Would you have done it differently or would you have done it the same, knowing what you know now?
No, I'd have done it the same. Yeah.
Why?
Because if I had been If I had listened to him closer and really taken what he said and dropped DJing that day and dropped teaching that day or dropped virtual space, if I'd had isolated on just one, I wouldn't be able to do this alternating right foot, left foot system that I have now. I am investing in my teaching skills. I am investing in my virtual space building skills at the same time. And these are things that I'm investing into my ability as an artist and my ability to express myself creatively. And 3 years down the road, that is going to inform decisions I make while being a DJ. And as I've been a creative generalist for 15 plus years, I have found the tenets of creativity that pierce all of these subjects. And I choose to try to master them. That is not a medium specific thing. It is not specific to it is not exclusive to a specific domain of creativity that is broader than that. It's larger than that. But I won't be able to achieve mastery in any of these domains unless I exclude the others. So I would do it again because my transferable knowledge and my general skills of being a creative person across all these different disciplines has helped me spearhead in a way that is very unique.
Do you think, like, if you were to advise other people on like how to do things, would you tell them to like trust their gut and like ignore advice from like a business coach, or would you tell them to follow their advice?
I would say that anytime any teacher, instructor, coach, or any leader figure in your life tells you something that your gut and heart disagree with, disregard what they tell you and go with your gut and your heart. And that will lead you to the lessons that you specifically need to learn. But if a teacher tells you something that you go, oh, that sounds right, go with that. Go with that. And also, I'm speaking to someone who has the luxury of the distance to be able to make those mistakes, the luxury of the time to be able to make those mistakes, right? If you need to make something happen now and someone says, this is your quickest path out, this is your escape hatch, then you should go with that because they're going to be able to help expedite those lessons. But if something in your gut tells you this is wrong, then you either A, have a very personal lesson coming to you from the universe that you specifically need to have, or B, you're going to innovate and revolutionize and you're going to succeed where your teachers could not.
That reminds me of like a quote I've heard is like, sometimes you need to make the mistake in order to know it's a mistake. And like, even then, like you learn from it. And like you said, it'll lead you down to the path you're supposed to be on.
Just to riff off that for a second, mistakes are everything. You don't get anywhere. You don't learn anything without mistakes. Like mistakes is how you learn stuff. It's one thing for me to tell you this is what to do and you to do it and then you know it. That's cool. That's one level of understanding. It's a completely different level of understanding for you to have an idea, try it out, and have the universe teach you that that's not the way it works, right? You will know it so much more intimately. You will understand it so much better. Mistakes are way more valuable than successes because mistakes, look, you can be successful. You can try something and succeed at it by luck or by happenstance or by you don't know why it worked. But when you fail, you always know why you failed, right? And so you can get tricked. I mean, the worst thing that can happen to you is early success, right? Because you go, oh, I'm the best. My instincts are perfect. I know just what to do. And then you take all that and you bet more and you lose it. That has happened to me, right? But when you make a mistake, you know exactly what went wrong and you can fix that system and you can build on it. So mistakes are the money. They're the bread and butter. They are the tuition that you need to pay in order to achieve the results you want to achieve. And good luck is bad luck because if you get good luck, you don't know why you're succeeding and you can make the mistake of thinking that it's you. Thinking that you're the reason why it was successful and it wasn't just the timing was right. You know, you sold the tickets at the right price. You guessed the right thing. You had the right speakers. Some things lined up and you thought you were responsible for it and that it's repeatable, and it may not be. But when you make a mistake, you learn exactly why you made that mistake. That is a longer lesson and it will lead to larger success in the future.
Doing everything you're doing now, would you say it's fulfilling everything you're trying to fulfill by balancing all the other multiple projects, or is there still something that's like missing for you?
Well, I have just moved to this place, to my new home, and I have been here for 2 days, and it is storming rainforest outside. It is surfing down the street. I am building a metaverse company in the time that the metaverse is finally understood by the public, despite having spent a year building this company when no one knew what the metaverse was. Upstairs, while downstairs, I go for a walk with the dog towards the beach, and it's stormy weather. It's beautiful. I can't imagine a life better than this one. This is exactly what I want to be doing. I want to be having a conversation with Jona from the future, talking to me about how I got to where I am. This could not be a more beautiful moment in my life. And the only thing that I'm going to try to do is keep this system going.
Do you still miss DJing? Do you DJ at home like to fulfill that void, or do you not have that void anymore?
I don't have that void anymore. I will. It will come back on. I actually had my last event in October that I was preparing a set list for get canceled, and it was one of the biggest reliefs. So I don't miss it right now. It's definitely going to come up. It's going to be an itch that I need to scratch, but I've got it prepared. You know, I'm ready for it.
Why do you think you were like relieved to have it be canceled?
Because too many things were popping off at the same time, and it was an easy like we were talking about earlier. You know, when there's a lot of opportunity, when there's a lot of opportunity for success, and it's all coming your way, it's quite difficult to say no to things, right? But the inability to say no to opportunity is an insecurity. It's a scarcity mindset that other opportunities won't follow, right? And what we need to do is we need to say no as often as possible. Nothing will give you more opportunity than saying no. That's just facts. Nothing will give you more money than saying no. You know, like just a quick real life tangent on why, you know, an anecdotal experience that verifies that is, you know, when I was DJing every weekend, I quit all my job. I did I walked away from everything in order to become a successful DJ. I had zero experience DJing. I just said, I'm going to make it happen or I'm going to starve to death, which, by the way, I started to starve to death, right? It took some time, but that started to happen. And I was DJing every weekend. I was going to every bar. I was just laying down tracks and constantly working. And it got to the point where I started getting booked more regularly and I started to succeed. And the result of that was that people would last minute say, hey, we need somebody to come DJ for us this Saturday. And I said, I can't, I'm booked. And they say, well, how does $200 sound? And I'm like, no, I'm booked. Well, how does $600 sound? Okay, no just made me $400 extra, right? And if I actually said no to that other booking, which was for like $80, right? I would have had that Saturday open to say yes to 200, right? But so if I say no and then no, my pricing goes from 80 to 200 to 600. So no will make you more money than anything else. No will give you more opportunities than anything else because people will fight for a yes. And when somebody says, hey, would you like to DJ for $80? And you're thinking, hey, that's grocery money. And you say yes, you sell yourself way, way, way short.
Dude, Conor, appreciate it, man.
Thank you so much, brother.
Nice talking to you, man. Take it easy.
Brother. Thank you so much.
Later.